with inside jokes amusing to the company members, but never reaching the audience. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice but to get on. A mandate. You get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. We love that about you, right, Gina Grad?
That's right.
Handball, Brian. I'm a carpenter. I'm not a turtle. We went to Jo Koy's movie opening last night, Easter Sunday, in theaters this Friday. Enjoyed ourselves. It's a very nice movie. It's funny. Jay Chandrasekhar. Close enough. Is direct and in it, which I wasn't aware of until last night. Joe did a great job acting, and so did the rest of the cast. And it's funny, it's heartwarming, and it's Filipino. So I learned a lot.
Those 3 things in that order. From the trailer, it looks like it's just in a good way. It is a lot of good vibes. Like it's not going to bring you down to see this movie.
No, Chris and I showed up. He showed up in ceremonial garb.
Chris did?
Oh, yes.
Really?
I wore Filipino formal wear. It's called a barong Tagalog.
I got to see this.
We got to see this.
I saw a few people walking around in that. Ran into a bunch of celebs, bunch of friends, bunch of folks. You know, Joe is as warm and as friendly as can possibly be. You know, his sister's like, "Thank you for helping Joe. It's because of you." You know, I was like, all right.
Yeah,
She's
tell
like,
me
"No,
more."
but come on your show, and then he became big." And I'm like, all right. But thank you. Thanks for saying so. Yeah, Tia Carrere was there. Fluffy was there.
Tiffany
Haddish was there.
Loxamana?
Tisha Campbell was there.
Oh, boy.
I do. So I have a Lou Diamond Phillips. I have many thoughts. One is well, maybe we'll just go in order. It used to drive me nuts when I would take cabs and the dispatch volume would be turned all the way up, and they'd just be driving, and you'd hear this sort of LaGuardia, and I'd always kind of go, "Could you?" I go, "Is that for you?" And they go, "No, it's just they're asking anyone who's around LaGuardia or whatever," and I'm like, "Let's just bring it down a notch or two."
We don't all need to know.
We were driving over there in an Uber. This guy had his phone going, and I didn't even know what the chime was, but it was so goddamn loud, it scared me. I jumped, and I was sitting down in the first time, and then it happened about 5 more times. And I was like, yeah, maybe bring it down. I kept saying to Chris, "Is that adjustable? Can we bring that down a little bit?" And
it felt like you were saying it to him through me.
Of course he was.
So I can't operate Uber, so I'm always on someone else's Uber. And then there was my rating.
I'm so worried about it all the time.
But I'm like, all I'm saying is bring it down a couple notches. I don't know.
Yeah.
Constructive.
It was jarring how loud it was.
Right.
And you have a very low resting pulse, so if you jumped because you heard a sound.
Me, and then it did about 5 more times.
Is it the quack? The quack's my least favorite. Like, whack, whack, when your phone rings.
I don't know what the chime
it was the bike bell.
Oh, like the ring, ring.
Yeah. But it's just like kind of harsh.
Super harsh. And then so he dropped this off, and I said, "All right, here we are." And I said, "Let's just hear it one more time."
Oh, my God.
Because I know it's coming.
Chris, you're never going to get
We're not getting out of here without. And as the door opened, as I put one foot out, boom, hit it one more time.
Yeah, I think Adam got one more. I can't turn that down. As the door was closing, he got one more in.
Listen, maybe it's all the years of being coached, playing football, and then right into carpentry, where there's just someone standing over you going, "Hey, do it this way. It's a better way to do it." That is the way I express love. Everyone else gets pissed off.
Of service.
Your
I'm
love
like,
language,
here's how you do it. This is better. This is better.
Yeah.
But people don't like that. So it was loud shit. So then.
Was this an older gentleman?
He was in his 40s, probably. I don't know. Uber guy.
Well, it was older than that.
Maybe 50s.
About 45, 50.
Because every one of Tessa's grandparents, i.e., my parents, my in-laws, have the the loud activated ringer. Or something going to text ding.
Oh,
yes.
My mom's plays half a song. It's do 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 do. for one text.
Right.
I passive aggressively just mentioned, hey, you can turn that off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Change to something shorter,
or
brevity.
they don't know, or they do know, whatever it is. They're set in their ways. So we got one more. Then Chris and I got there early.
Where was it?
It was at the Grauman's Chinese.
Ooh la la.
TCL.
Yeah.
Whatever they call it.
the
It was a
Grauman's.
long.
The Chinese theater.
Yeah.
Found myself looking down at all the footprints of Clark Gable and the ear, and had a sort of, well, everyone's dead kind of notion. But it was great. But we had about an hour between the time we got there and the time the movie started.
Open bar.
Yeah,
And,
load up on popcorn.
I'm Ubering all the way, so I was like, all right, let's get a drink. And I walked up, and there was a guy who was kind of holding court right in front of the concession. The concession was a regular movie concession, had a cabinet filled with bottled water behind it, and on the counter in the front was a bunch of pre-poured sodas and popcorn and sodas, all sort of pre-arranged and presented. And we walked in and we spotted this guy, and I said, they had drinks here? And he goes, oh, yeah, they got drinks. And I was like, all right, where at? And he goes, well, you got the water and you got the Pepsi
Jesus.
right here. I was like,
You want a drink,
I'm
buddy?
not
I can
asking
hook
about
you
the
up.
things. I'm staring at a cabinet
Is
filled
there
with water.
liquid to consume?
They got snacks here. Oh,
You got hose bib, you got toilet water, there's sink, there's urinal if you're feeling daring.
If it rains, we're all in luck.
Right. I was like, I'm asking what is liquid, or if they provide it. I'm saying, is there a bar like upstairs or something? And it's like, you got the. He said it with such gusto and glee that I thought, okay,
Yeah, the
let's go
good
get
stuff.
a drink.
Yeah, we were so pumped. And then Adam looks at him, it's like, he goes back to him, like, I don't think that warranted the, oh, yeah.
I guess I was in coaching up mode. I would have accepted, we got water and soda, but I
you
was
want
like,
dew? Diet dew?
Oh, buddy,
I know.
do we?
Yeah, I was like, bring it down a little bit for the next person that comes in here who's going to be devastated by your over enthusiastic response.
Yeah, it wasn't even a buzzkill yet because we could get a buzz.
Right.
That's true.
So
You had to see the movie sober, and you still enjoyed it very much.
No, we didn't make that mistake.
Oh.
We
Went across to the Roosevelt?
we went in and sat down, and we sat for about 15 minutes in a semi-empty theater at the time, and then at some point, Chris looked at me and said, we got another 45. I said, oh, yeah. And he said, let's get a drink. So we got up, walked across to the Roosevelt.
There you go. I was joking.
Yeah.
Spotted a nice sort of senior cop. They have a lot of cops out there. Yeah, he's 50. He's wanting to retire. He's just pretty much, it's over.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, that's the
I don't-
golden parachute for cops in L.A., right? Is work the premieres, work the shoots.
Yeah, he had seniority, but he's like, that was his beat. He worked Hollywood, and he worked that stretch. And I was like, the cops are just like, we're fucked. And I was like, well, why don't we turn around? It's like, well, I don't think Caruso's going to win, and I don't think we're going to get Bass, and I'm retiring. So the cops are just completely
out.
demoralized, and they're just like, fuck it.
That's what you
Which
want.
is exactly what you're looking for.
Peace officer.
And a peace officer. Yeah, fuck it. I'm not getting out of the car.
I don't mean to shit on either of your points, but I swear to God, I got a news tweet last night that they're adding 200 cops to Hollywood. And I'm really hoping that that's true.
Now this guy left. They got to make up the.
That's right.
The gusto.
He said something like, if you're here to do something illegal, we won't want you here, and we're adding cops to Hollywood. It's like, it was just a tweet.
I think he was talking about how many people retired versus what the graduating class was.
Yeah, he said that a lot more people are leaving, though.
Oh, that's
They're
there you
adding
go.
200, but
So net
500
zero.
left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
or minus 300 or
Right.
whatever it is. He was completely demoralized,
Oy.
but a nice guy.
Yeah, he got us a police escort to walk
That's
us
a police escort
to the Roosevelt.
across the street. I noticed copious amounts of people stopping me and wanting to take pictures and stuff, and I'm like, when does this never happens to this degree? And then I started thinking, well, it's the premiere, but I was wearing a suit.
They
And-
thought you were Tony Stark.
Yes, the suit invite brings it. They look at you and go, that guy must be somebody, and then they do the math. So we went across
That's
the
a
street.
good picture.
We had a lovely cocktail across the street. Then we walked it back. The big celebrities, Joe and Jimmy O Yang and all that. Oh,
Did you and Chris walk the red carpet holding hands as I requested?
I don't know what we did, Chris.
Locked arms.
Okay.
Locked arms.
Oh, nice.
I had a Jimmy O Yang, what I would call chisimile.
Oh.
It's a Chinese. We know we
yeah.
have the
We got
black
black
simile. This was a Chinese simile, which is like, oh, damn it.
I know,
God,
what have you
couldn't he
done?
be Japanese and go with Jap simile?
Yeah,
Oh,
Jip simile.
God. He's
No,
not.
this was China. This is a Chinese
Japanese.
situation, but I was talking to Jimmy O. He's a big fan. He loved Loveline and this show, and
He's a good dude.
nicest
We love
dude in the
him.
world. And we're talking to him, and I was like, "What are you up to?" He goes, "Oh, I'm doing a special, and I got something going on at the Neptune, and I think in Portland." I was like, "Oh yeah, I've been to the Neptune. Yeah, it's good theater." And then I was trying. You know what I mean? Trying to add, and I said. Oh, you're doing another stand-up special? He's like, yeah, I'm doing another stand-up special. And I said, yeah, no, I saw your last one. It's really funny. I caught it. You filmed it at the Ice House.
Too specific.
Too specific. I saw it. It was funny. It was at the Ice House. That was Ken Jeong.
No,
I was like,
you're
oh,
off by 30 years.
damn it. God damn it. And there's no wiggling out of that. That's just pure Chinese.
Yeah,
That's just
that's
me.
bad.
God.
Just
What
screwed
was
the
your
pooch.
response to that?
There is no...
Yeah.
There's
That's what I meant.
there's a version of getting caught masturbating by your stepmom, which you can sort of feather into. I was just getting into the shower. There's some plausible, and then there's like, I'm just going to keep stroking witch. I'm sorry. There's no way around this.
You
Right.
can turn around.
You can turn around. We know what happened here.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was an issue.
If I may, it's not a chai simile. It's a replication.
Replication.
bad. That's
Yes,
Very good.
Dawson. Very
good.
strong.
Nailed it.
All right, we got more, but I think Dan Abrams is on deck, waiting to come in, and we'll circle back to Joe and his premiere in a second. Dan, well, let's see. You know him from he's been on TV, feel like, for at least the last 20 years. He's bringing back On Patrol Live, which was... They had that super successful cop show, the
Yep.
On Patrol show, but it was slightly different than On Patrol. I'll find the name of it. But Live PD is what it was. Then the whole George Floyd thing went down, and your number one show is now getting pulled off. And it's always this thing. My kind of thing is like, I don't know that you have to take a number one show off the air because some cop somewhere did something bad to a black man. That's not what this show is, but there's a lot of like, no. It just
Get out in
wouldn't be
front of it.
not in good taste.
Well, doesn't everyone, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't everyone love Dan Abrams except Nancy Grace?
Oh, yeah.
She's like
That's
really
right.
not a fan.
He's the chief legal correspondent for ABC. They must butt heads.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
We've been over this, and it is brutal.
Yeah, well, I think Dan is coming on in just a moment or two. Chris is talking to him. I think it was his publicist that popped on, and we thought maybe it was Dan. But now it's coming back, and I don't know where you guys are at with cops, cop shows, those kinds of like on the beat. It's super compelling stuff. It's also kind of depressing. I have a thing in me that feels bad for
you're
all
right.
the poor people that are getting
Yeah.
busted,
It's
even
both
though
of
they're
those things.
criminals.
It's hard to watch.
It's depressing and it's compelling. You're
Yes,
absolutely right.
absolutely. In an intervention way.
Cops was kind of a phenomenon in the early 90s. My
Fuck
family
yeah.
used to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
We gathered around.
That's how I told people when I'm from Kansas City, because there's, Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. They say, which side are you from? And I go, the one that's not featured on Cops. Because Kansas City, Kansas was always featured on Cops.
Yes. All right. So Dan is up. Dan, is your mic hot?
I think so.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we are. So congrats on getting the show back, even if it's been tweaked a little bit to protect the innocents in terms of the title Go, or the innocent, I should say. On Patrol Live, it airs live Friday and Saturday nights on Reels now with a Z. Let's talk about how we got this back on the air. Was it just the temperature needed to cool down as far as our society went?
Look, I've been advocating for it to come back since the day it went off the air. So, for me, I've always felt that there was a place for this show on the air. The truth is that there have been conversations that have been ongoing for for many months with different networks. And the question was two things. Number one, it's a big show. It's a lot of live feeds coming in. You have to really invest in it. And then B, you've also got to invest in the concept. And what we didn't want is, there were a couple of networks who wanted the typical sort of like, well, we'd like to try it out for 10 episodes and see how it does. And the truth is, this kind of show, it needs to be continuity. There needs to be a sense that it's not going anywhere after, 10 episodes. Now, the good news is the ratings have been explosive. So even if we had signed a 10 episode deal, it would have gotten renewed anyway. But that was the thinking behind it. And it just took a while to find the right partner.
What is the general vibe? We were speaking before you got on. I was in Hollywood doing a movie premiere last night, and I ran into a couple of officers, and they seemed a little deflated. They felt like they weren't being supported. They were frustrated and that they would bust a guy and he'd be out that evening or that afternoon. The general morale of cops felt bad, but we're in L.A., so we're kind of the epicenter of low morale for cops because it's just homelessness everywhere, crime everywhere, and cops is sort of hanging out with their hands tied.
And the police station is a turnstile. You just walk in and walk out.
But where are we at in the rest of the nation?
Well, look, I think the rest of the nation shares that view. And I think there are two reasons for it. One is what you're saying, right? One is there is a sense that in certain big cities, the people are being arrested and then they're just being released. Even, for example, if they attack a cop. And that's maddening for cops to see the same person, and it literally, in some cases, the same person they arrested that day back out free. And that is very frustrating for police officers. The second thing is just a general attitude in this country about police and policing. I think, police officers have been beaten down. They do hard, often dangerous work every day. And rather than people coming up and say, thank you, there are a lot of people who are coming up and saying, F you. And, that's pretty deflating. And that's the reason around the country, departments are having a hard time with recruiting. They're having a hard time with people retiring and they can't fill the ranks anymore. And, it's very frustrating for them. And I think for those of us who think that it's wrong and incredibly frustrating and disappointing.
There's a story, we haven't gotten to it yet on the news, but there's this little small town in North Carolina, maybe it's South Carolina, where the entire police department quit. They all said, we can't do this collectively anymore.
There are also stories out of, I guess, certain suburbs, maybe in Georgia, where they're crowdfunding to hire their own police to patrol. Like, it's really getting to some weird world. And, you're right psychologically. Like, if you work at a Starbucks and people are douchey to you, that's uncomfortable, but you're not trying to save their fucking life.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's a huge juxtaposition. Most, if you're a roofer or a mason or you work as a barista and people are kind of shitty, it's like, all right, but fine. I'm just pouring a sidewalk in some neighborhood you never walk around in. But cops are there to help. And there's this, it's really a numbers thing. It's really what we did with cops and bad cop shootings is, we took a number of very isolated incidents, very small number of cops shooting mostly black men. At least that's the number, that's the populace we're talking about, who are unarmed. And we took this very small number and the news blew it up as if it was epidemic. And we did it. It's like when Jaws came out. You guys are too young, but Jaws came out. It's like, I'm not going in the ocean. Why? There's a 80% chance I'll get eaten by a shark. Like, no, we're taking something and we're turning it into something that we think is a regular occurrence. And it's not.
And Jaws did irreparable damage.
Yes, now people went out hunting sharks. So it's like it's the same metaphor. It's just one's a job and one's a shark.
I ask this question to people sometimes. I say, what percentage of people who were shot by police do you think are unarmed black men? And the answers that I get are very high. The actual number is 2% of the people shot by police are unarmed black men. Wow. And you can dig into the numbers and you can talk about, proportion of the society, et cetera, and have discussions about where there's more crime and this and that. But just that number alone sort of strikes me that, wait, what? Really? And the only reason that they've been misled is because of the media. And the vast majority of police officers never, ever fire their weapon in the line of duty. Oh, wait, what? What? Yeah, they're just doing the hard work that cops got to do every day. And it manifests itself in different ways, but they're not out there shooting their weapons right and left. It's just a myth because, in the media, it's more interesting, right? Conflict, outrage. Let's stir it up. And, and the cops are the victims of that. Now, as you pointed out, yes, there are cops who do bad things. Yes, they should be held accountable. Yes, if you're pro-cop, you also have to be pro-accountability. But you also need to look at the big picture and say, let me take a broader view of this and look at how cops are being treated in this country. And I think it's been very poorly.
Yeah, also, we have some sort of unattainable standard with a lot of these shootings. Like the guy wrestled with the cop for 10 minutes. They rolled around on the ground. He tried to tase him. It didn't work. He pepper sprayed him. It didn't work. The guy was reaching for the guy's gun and his partner shot him. It's like, hello, what else would you like? Don't wrestle with the fucking cops, number one. Number two, after, 3 rounds of rolling around on the ground, yes, shit happens. But it's pretty avoidable. And it's so crazy how we work so hard to convert every interaction into something nefarious at the hands of the cops. I mean, even when that cop shot that young woman who was mid-thrust, about to stab the other woman, LeBron James was, his panties were in a bunch. Like, another person, another woman of color, shot by cops. Like, she was thrusting a steak knife into another human being, and she was... I wouldn't say moments or seconds away. She was 0.2 of a second away of running this person through with a knife, LeBron. What? You think cops have magic wands? They can't turn back time. They don't have time machines. They're not Mr. Wizard. Also, I would argue that when the cop shows up mid-street fight and potential stabbing, feel free to put the knife down at that point. At that point.
Well, and that's the other critical point that people don't realize, and this is something you do see in watching, On Patrol Live, is cops don't know exactly what's happening when they arrive at a scene, right? They've gotten a call. A lot of the time, the information's wrong, right? Witness reports that guy with a gun, shooting gun in the air. Okay, now we got to look for the guy with the gun in the air. Turns out it's not a guy, it's a woman, and she's shooting it at the ground, and now they got to try and find her. The point is, I'm just giving this example to say they don't know exactly what's happening when they arrive on a scene. They're kind of walking in blind, and they've been called to the scene. That's the part that often is forgotten, is there's this sense sometimes, the cops are just walking around trying to... They're responding to a call. Someone called for help. They're there to respond. And they're trying to figure out what's happening when they arrive on that scene.
No, I know that story of the person that was shot in the parking lot of the fast food restaurant was the guy was wasted and he passed out in his car in line at the drive-thru. So they called the cops, and then the cops tried to wake him up and get him out of his car, and he got out of his car, and it's like, all right, have you been drinking? And the next thing you know, punches are being thrown and they're being wrestled to the ground, and all the cops did was get a call to say a guy's passed out. Like a lot of this could be avoided. That's what I'm saying. It's not like the cops are going full fucking rogue cowboy and just walking around looking for citizens to shoot. But it's not the cops. Look, it's the media's fault. Let's fucking face it.
Yep.
I mean, it is 100% their fault for the media and celebrities like LeBron James, a lot of politicians and stuff like that, just jumping on shit, blowing it up, creating a narrative, scaring the shit out of everyone. And then, of course, blowhard celebrities weighing in who have created a thing that exists it exists. I lived in California my whole life. My whole life, every 10 minutes, they told me Africanized killer bees were coming in here from Texas and they were going to get us all. So here's the question. Are there Africanized killer bees? Yes, there are. Do they pose a threat to me or anyone in North Hollywood? No, they don't. But the news just kept fucking ringing that bell and everyone was running serpentine to the mailbox.
I got to say, I was obsessed with the killer bees story. I mean, I would just look at those things and they were so giant that I got caught up in that thing. I kept picturing what it would be like.
Oh, you're talking about hornets. You're talking about killer hornets.
Those are murder hornets.
I'm sorry. I'm talking about the hornets. All right, I'm talking about the hornets.
We had Africanized killer bees. SNL did a whole sketch called The Killer Bees.
That's right. It was Belushi.
Yes, they were Bandolero. They only did a sketch about the killer bees because we're talking about it. It was in the zeitgeist. I do believe in the 80s, Brian or Chris can look this up, the Miami Dolphin defense was called the Killer Bees.
That sounds familiar.
Because they had a bunch of guys.
Who stung you.
Like 5 of the guys on that side of the line, the defense had a name that started with B.
Oh,
yep.
That's
so
cute.
they're called the Killer Bees.
Sure.
But
Bonacati? Am I looking that up?
Bonacani was before. Nick was before the Killer Bees.
Brian, come on.
What are the chances?
Oh, all right.
6 out of the 11 starters' last names started with a B.
Yeah.
Now, if they were
It'd be a crime not to call them the
I
Killer
wish
Bees.
they started with a C because the Killer C's means that would strike more fear.
Oh no!
For me. She's on a period.
He's Africanized.
Yes, the Killer Bees were called the Killer Bees because they kept telling us about the Killer Bees, and all SNL does is capture whatever the zeitgeist is, and they talk about it. But it was another thing that the media's been at this for a while, is basically what I'm saying. They just kind of turned it on cops, especially after the George Floyd incident. Sorry, Dan. Where were we? Where'd you grow up? Were you on the East Coast, West Coast?
Yeah, I'm New York. I grew up in New York. I grew up in Manhattan, and lived in LA for a while. Lived in North Carolina for a while, but mostly New York.
Well, you missed the Killer Bees then because they're coming in from Texas. The show is called On Patrol Live. It airs live Fridays and Saturday nights on Reels. With a Z, of course. And nice to see you back on and running with the successful show and getting the good word out there.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Thank you, Dan Abrams. All right. Let's see. I got, the Killer Bees must have been Miami mid-'80s?
82.
Oh, early 80s.
So the theory was they were literally coming from the continent of Africa and making their way around the globe.
Everything starts in Africa, gets to Mexico, and then comes in through Texas. And then we in California have to fear for what started in Africa, went to Mexico, came through Texas, now it's coming our way.
I see.
If you saw some of the news reports, some of the swarms actually form an arrow and hit me in the ass as I was running, screaming for my life.
Yeah, that's a cute poster you got there.
Kim,
Killer Bees.
Killer Bees, starring
Kim Bocamper,
right?
Bob Baumhauer, Doug Betters, Charles Bowser, Bob Brudzinski, Glenn Blackwood, and Lyle Blackwood.
And Nick Monicati started it all.
Yeah, he was the unbeaten 72 team. All right, let me tell you about Simply Safe. Does anything matter more than safety? Well, I think we've just been talking about it. No, protect your family. You need Simply Safe. I trust and recommend Simply Safe. It's a great product, great people, great company. Peel and stick. Batteries last up to 10 years. You don't have to hardwire it. Don't have to drill holes, crawl around, pull wires. 24/7 professional monitoring. Simply Safe's agents dispatch police, fire responders, and the moment there's a threat detected, even if you're not home and cannot be reached, just $1 a day, no long-term contract, no hidden fees. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes. It's Simply Safe. 2 eyes in there. SimplySafe.com/Adam. Go today for a free indoor security camera plus 20% off with interactive monitoring at SimplySafe.com/Adam. So there's this Hollywood Improv show, which would be this Wednesday. And it is sold out, so don't bother. It's sold out.
What a plug!
Sold out in 7 minutes. But the thing that's funny about it is we thought we should do a show, like Adam Carolla and Friends, or an evening with Adam Carolla. I don't, not something I do, but other comedians do it. And
That's
I thought,
a stacked lineup.
It's quite a group of friends.
Why not do it? So
All headliners.
So hanging around last week, and I was like, all right, now who could I get? You always think who's in town, who's traveling, who's got business.
Wait, you didn't come up with the guest list until last week?
Who's freed up? No. So I thought we got to sell some tickets. Let's start out with Jay Leno.
Of course.
Shot a text to Jay Leno.
Oh, nothing.
Heard nothing.
Literally, nothing.
Yeah. Heard nothing for a number of days. Started to go, now I'm starting to worry because we're a week out. I don't have anyone booked. So
You should have sent the request with a Chick-fil-A order.
I hit up Sarah Silverman, and she's like, I'm opening for Pussy Riot? I'm trying to think of who she's opening for. That,
Nice.
there's a few pussy bands. Anyway, she's opening at the El Rey, and that Wednesday. So I'm like, oh boy, 0 for 2. What do we got going here? And then she texts back, well, what time? Because I'm going up at this time, but maybe I could, the El Rey's not too far from Improv. I could make it over there. Then I go, well, geez, I don't know how this is going. So reach out to Jay Moore and Rob Schneider and Fluffy and Patton Oswalt. And then then Jay hits me the next day, and then Sarah hits me the next day, and then they all hit me and they go, we're in. Awesome. We're all in. Now there's too many comedians.
No such thing.
But I was
He's the lead guest?
I was like, oh, okay. So then now I'm kind of thinking, look, I only got an hour and a half. These guys are all headliners.
The whole show?
Hey,
You need more time.
Byron Allen figures it out.
Yeah, I know.
Come on.
So I'm like, oh boy. So what do we do? No host, limit their time. Like, what do I do? And then last night at the after party, Fluffy's there and Gabriel Iglesias, and we're talking cars or whatever. And then Jo Koy wanders by. Hey, how's it going? And then Fluffy's like, hey, Adam, I'll see you on Wednesday. I'm doing Adam's show. And then Joe's like, I'm in. And I'm like, no, we're good.
That's the last thing we need.
Dance card's full.
You guys, one of you just played Dodger Stadium, and the other guy played the Forum. This is 140 seats. We got Jay Leno.
So great.
And it's like, well, I'm joining in. And I'm like,
Rains and pours.
Yeah. Which I was utterly flattering. And,
Embarrassment of riches.
Joe, I didn't have his schedule in front of him, so I don't know. But
You got to break that show up, man.
Yeah.
Do a couple.
It is stacked.
So how is it going to work?
I
We're gonna
honestly
take a break in the middle, clear the room.
going to try to figure it out. But yeah, everyone's got to keep it to a tight 14 and a half or something. I just don't know, but it's a great group. And the thing I like about it is it's a totally diverse group. Patton Oswalt and Sarah Silverman, and you got Rob Schneider, you got me, and you got Fluffy, and you got Jay Moore. Like, this is it's nice. It's nice to have a potpourri of opinions up there on that stage. So
It's a great reminder that comedy can weather the storm.
Yes, and it's also nice that these people are friendly enough that they're like, oh yeah, let's do it. Nice. All right, so that's sold out, so forget about it. Maybe we should.
Can Brian and I stand by the kitchen door?
We should move it to the Hollywood Bowl.
Buddy,
Seriously.
I'm serving.
Let's go
I'm serving that night. Yeah, I'll do a quiet check drop.
Yeah. All right, so now we got to figure out who's doing when and how much time and all that good stuff.
You could do your patented move. You could get the best of both worlds. You're the host, so you start. You're out of there by 7:58.
Yeah. Well,
The host should say goodbye.
yeah.
Overrated. Look at those guests. They're not going to remember.
All right. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back with the news right after this.
Well, Alex Jones is singing a new tune. The conspiracy theorist Alex Jones said on Wednesday he now understands it was responsible to declare the Sandy Hook school shooting a hoax, and he now believes it was 100% real. He was speaking in his own...
Irresponsible?
It was irresponsible to
okay.
say that it was fake. He was speaking in his own... Did I not make that clear?
I saw a few clips of this circling
It
on.
sounded like you said responsible, which I'm
I was laughing because I saw a few clips. And
I have
I'm
not
very
seen this.
curious to hear Garagos' tape because I've not been in a lot of courtrooms, but the judge seemed particularly annoyed and
a lot of
frustrated.
admonishing.
Yeah, with Mr. Jones.
Now, Mr. Jones, this is not a conversation. This is yes, this is no. This is not a dialogue for you. You need to...
At one point, she was like, I don't care what you believe.
Yes.
You are no longer allowed to say that. Like
True.
she told him, don't tell the jury you believe this.
That was after that was in reference, I believe, to him. He kept saying he was broke, which was going to sway the jury because this is a money trial. So let me give you a few details. He was speaking in his own defamation trial a day after the parents of a 6-year-old killed in the 2012 attack testified to suffering death threats and harassment all these years because of what Jones has claimed on his media platforms. The parents said on Tuesday an apology is not enough, and the InfoWars host needs to be held accountable for repeatedly spreading the falsehoods about the attack. They are seeking $150 million, which is probably why he's interjecting that he's broke, even though there's no proof of that. Jones is the only one testifying in his defense.
I'm amused by like the flat earthers, and then there's the, whoa, we never landed on the mooners, and then there's the Ed Asners, who the Twin Towers were taken down by the CIA.
Yeah.
But things where it happened, and there's photographs and coroners and, kids that never came home that day. Like I guess you could say that about the flat earthers and the moon. There's a little wiggle room, and we never landed on the moon. You go, oh, come on, that's a doctored photo or something. Maybe. But would this apply to like the Vegas shooting? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how's it work?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Forgive me for being so bold, but I don't understand how you could be that naive because Alex Jones is a smart guy. He's created an empire. He's a smart dude. He's rich, but he gets rich and he makes his cachet by appealing to these imbeciles, let's just call them, the people who believe these things.
He doesn't believe it.
But he understands there is a market to make himself wealthy by saying these things.
This is what I always ask about megachurch pastors. How much of this do you believe? Do you think these people are being blessed by tithing?
Same I say about the Kardashian porn tapes. Like I'm naive.
Kind of.
I'm like I just believe it.
Yeah.
I believe they believe it. But then do flat earthers? Are there people saying the Earth is flat that don't believe it, or the moon landing?
Well, if there's money to be made, if not,
the Alex
money.
Joneses of the world who realize, hey, there's a million people who will believe this. I can get rich by pumping this pretty hard, whether or not I believe it or not.
This is where, at least as far as I remember it, those two phrases were created that up until then I had never heard before: crisis actor and false flag. Like, these are crisis actors. These are children hired to what? Pretend that they were killed?
At some point you have to explain what's going on.
Yeah. So all these years.
They have Civil War reenactors.
That's true.
Gina, I'm not saying.
No, you make a decent
One
point.
is more of a crisis actor than a Civil War.
And so not, I mean.
Yeah, really.
Saying insult to injury in this case doesn't even begin. Like, they lost their child in basically our first mass shooting of that era, and you've had death threats coming in saying you're a liar, your kid never died, this never happened. How much more do these people have to suffer? I would say hit them in the wallet too.
We have a clip. I have this weird thing, which is like crazy liars or flat earthers or Sandy Hook deniers or Twin Tower deniers or something. I'm just they're nuts or something.
Right.
I don't have an interest in it. Like I don't like Drew gets very upset at flat earthers. I don't, but there's something that hits him about it that doesn't affect me. But let's hear. We'll hear the tape.
It's 100% real, as I said on the radio yesterday, and as I said here yesterday. It's 100% real. And the media still ran with lies that I was saying it wasn't real on air yesterday. It's incredible. They won't let me take it back. They just want to keep me in the position of being the Sandy Hook man.
They won't let me take it back.
Yeah. Yesterday.
Yeah.
It's been going on for a decade or whatever.
I don't know if you've heard of this guy. It'd be great to have him on the show, though. I've only heard him do one interview ever, not in character. So I don't know that. I believe he will only talk to us in character. Are you familiar with Birds Aren't
Jack
Real?
in the Box guy?
Yeah.
We've had him.
Are you familiar with birdsaren'treal.com?
No.
Okay, put the website up, Ben.
I remain consistent in my things that people say.
This is amazing because this guy, he's an activist. Birds aren't real. He has shirts with a bird on it that says "I'm a lie," and the point is like, if we'll believe, that the earth is flat or blah, 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 why should we believe birds are real? Birds really have cameras in them and they're spying on all of us. So whenever
Sounds familiar.
It was a thing.
It leans into
So something that a lot of people do now sort of on their own is if there's a Phelps family protest at a funeral in Kansas. The birds aren't real. People will show up and be like, yeah, and birds aren't real, and just confuse everyone and kind of make a joke, like troll people.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
It's kind of our let's go Brandon for, some version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, to address your point from earlier, the people are allowed to believe what they believe, and if they're insane, as long as you don't shoot up a mall, fine, whatever. I'm like Drew in that I get especially irked by the Alex Joneses of the world who are like, yes, these people are to be exploited for their money or their whatever, and I will activate them or act as their de facto leader on this issue. That to me is kind of disgusting. But
oh yeah, it is.
People are allowed to believe.
I just don't have. Well, there's X amount of. I will obsess over somebody who says, you said we're going to meet at 7. I said 7:30. It's like, no. I got all the time in the world for this. Alex Jones and flat earthers are too fantastical for me to wrap my mind around. But anyway.
The same could be said for people who say the rapture's coming, give me all your earthly possessions. It's like if you come out and say, look, that was bullshit, I'm really sorry, please don't tax and take all my shit. What's to be done with all the people who followed you? When people said, well, I still don't understand how JFK Jr. was supposed to present Trump as the clear, true president. What was that? Who showed up?
Look. They're evidently
was recently.
There's just more crazy people than we initially anticipated. Because what we had when I grew up, we had things. There was the town drunk. There wasn't the town drunks.
Yeah, singular.
There was just a town drunk.
Yeah.
And then we had the village idiot.
Yeah.
Now, not the village idiots, unless there was a convention for idiots from Love and Death.
Hello, welcome idiots.
Right, welcome idiots. But you had the town drunk and the town idiot and the town fool and the town whore.
Crier.
These were singular things.
Charming.
Now, I was in Hollywood today, and I drove here sort of side streets, and there was town drunks flopped out all over
Other
the place,
people's
and
town
village
drunks.
idiots everywhere.
Yeah.
Like these are numbers now.
The only silver lining, more town whores.
That's right. Yeah, sure. And sometimes the town drunk can also wear two hats.
Sure.
Oh,
She can be
yeah.
the town whore.
Yeah. There's only a couple ways to get more booze. Let's talk about Johnny Depp. We're pretty much over it, but now something's been unearthed, and I use that word specifically. Johnny's fans may have inadvertently damaged his reputation a little bit by paying to have pretrial documents unsealed. It is this woman, Andrea Burkhart. She's a criminal defense attorney in Washington State, and if you pay 50 cents a page, you can have it unsealed. So she paid $3,300 and had it all put on her website. Some of the revelations uncovered Depp's text to Marilyn Manson about her calling her a cunt and talking about Manson's girlfriend and the whole vibe. Another was Depp attempted to use Heard's stint as, who knew, a stripper against her. Did not know that.
He said she was a stripper and a prostitute.
The town stripper?
Yes.
I do not. I watched this trial. I do not remember that.
Well, I watched TMZ,
yeah.
and a day or so ago, he was trying to say she was a stripper and a
Yep.
prostitute,
Yeah.
and the judge was like, "That's inadmissible."
That's what I'm saying. That was sealed. Yeah, and finally. And I didn't know this was a thing. Accusations that Depp's erectile dysfunction pills cause him to be violent. Is that a symptom? A side effect?
No.
It's only when they don't work, bitch.
Fuck these pills.
If they kick in, I'm
All
fine.
is well.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing.
Promises, promises.
Yeah. What did he call the dog duking on the bed? A growler?
A grumpy.
A grumpy.
Why can't you commit the greatest word ever to memory?
Because it's something I don't normally associate with a deuce. You know, I never called it a grumpy.
My Canadian grandpa called it like being on the growler. You know what I mean? When you're
Oh, really?
growler too, yeah.
A grumpy. But it's weird that he calls someone shitting in his bed a grumpy, but then calls her a cunt all the time.
Yeah.
Which is it?
Yeah.
Oh, you're into euphemisms,
Yes.
aren't you?
Right.
It's a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how in the law and the zeitgeist and all the polls right now, people want consistency when it comes to abortion rights and things like that. And you hear, well, if you're considering it a child, where's my child support and where's this and where's that? Georgia said, we hear ya. So the Georgia Department of Revenue has announced that residents can now claim embryos as dependents on their taxes.
Nice.
And they can garner $3,000 for each embryo. The announcement comes on the heels of the U.S. Supreme Court
Like
overturning
frozen
Roe v.
embryos?
Embryos.
Whoa.
Just says embryos.
Christy, good news.
So they consistent. I'll give it to them. Meanwhile, Kansas voters shot down a stricter abortion ban in their state by a wide margin. People came out to vote in droves for midterms that they haven't seen in years.
Embryos can be counted as dependents,
According to the Georgia Department of Revenue.
but the dependent has the word dependent in it. Like,
You mean like test tube embryo?
I mean, like dependent is like, well, I have to pay for these
depending
kids.
on
They're-
you for food and
They're
shelter.
depending for all this stuff, so I can write it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are
But-
paying to have them housed.
I guess.
Yeah, true. But at least they're being consistent. As it stands now, to get an abortion in Kansas, and I think a lot of states are like this, you have to wait 24 hours and have an ultrasound before they'll do it.
Oh, they want to show you the baby.
That's right. And but they're saying fine, but we're not taking this any further.
Wasn't Sofia Vergara?
Yes.
Wasn't she in a battle
She
over embryos?
was sued by
Vergara?
her ex, Vergara,
Vergara.
because there were implanted embryos, like being shelved.
Oh, like they're half
And
his.
I think she wanted them destroyed because she's with the Magic Mike guy. Yeah. And he was like, wait. Like, that's part mine. And I think the judge eventually told him to go fuck himself, if memory serves.
This may sound macabre, but we do have all those gender reveal parties with the cannons, with
Sure.
the pink and the
Yeah.
whatever.
Feels
Start
like
forest
those are on
fires.
the way out, but yes.
Pretty
go
gauche,
ahead.
but yeah, we have them.
But if we're going to destroy the embryo, couldn't we do it in a way that had a little more pomp and circumstance?
That's a great observation.
You freeze them in the shape of a hockey puck and put it in a skeet thrower. You know what I mean? Pull. You know what I
It
mean?
was a boy!
Something a little more definitive. Like, I'm just saying. First off, turnabout's fair play. If you're going to make a big deal
Yeah.
over shitting out a kid with either penis or snatch, I say we should make something over getting rid of these embryos.
It's a fair point.
And
You could
yeah.
load some like pink or blue, like dust into those skeets and shoot them
Yeah,
out.
That's
you know
what he's
I mean?
saying, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I wasn't, Brian. It's
I
adding
thought
on.
that's what you were saying.
Well, no, I did want to put it in the skeet shooter. That is what I'm saying.
Don't get me wrong.
I didn't take it as far as Brian took it, which is the sex of the embryo should also, when you
Yes.
hit it.
Oh, I just assumed that's what you meant.
Well,
How
yeah,
else would we know what gender it was?
I'm just beating this out. This was,
Yeah.
obviously, if we
It's-
sat down for a
we're in the
minute.
room.
Yeah, we're spitballing.
spitballing.
You ever
I
been in
get
a
it.
writer's room, sweetie?
No.
Well,
shows.
evidently. Yeah.
No.
All right. Sorry. I would watch that.
It was a boy.
Gather
right.
around. Sad news at a Kenny Chesney concert. And this definitely seems like alcohol may have been involved. You tell me. Kenny Chesney is speaking out after a woman died at his concert over the weekend.
Oh, Jesus.
Chesney was performing Saturday night at Mile High in Denver, where a woman fell to her death. Here's how it happened. The country singer released he released a statement saying
Mile High Stadium?
It just says Mile High in Denver, so yeah, I assume so.
The football stadium.
I know. Everything has some corporate sponsor on it now. It's weird to just have one that, was Mile High when I was in junior high.
In terms of football and baseball, there's got to be less than half now that are just Lambeau Field or Dodger Stadium.
I've been waiting for high schools and colleges for years. They would love an cash injection when they.
And also, I know
Kenny's
big, but that is a football stadium. I didn't know he was playing that size venue.
Well, this incident occurred right before 11 p.m.
It's called Empower Field at Mile High.
That's how they get around it.
It has to be. Yes.
Denver police say that the unidentified woman was sitting on an escalator railing and fell onto the concourse and died as a result of those injuries and is being investigated as an accident. Chesney's currently on his Here and Now tour, which wraps up at the end of the month, and he has another show coming up in a few nights, but she was on an escalator railing.
They have those big escalators that take you from one level to the next. It's I don't know if Kenny Chesney's good or not. I've never really heard him.
When you walk around many hotels in Vegas, you will see a lot of Kenny Chesney T-shirts and fanny packs.
He's very popular. He has some catchy songs. I don't know that he's...
Was he... Okay, so you know how I'm doing a lot of country heat at home these days, Beachbody? Andy's doing real Beachbody. I'm doing country heat. And I think that a lot of his songs appear on that. Like a lot of stuff about corn, like let's turn this cornfield into a party, and I'm going to take you down for a catfish dinner.
He's very much fashioned himself the new Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah, I'm getting that vibe.
Very aggressively taking over that mantle.
I'm getting that vibe for sure.
Do with that what you will.
Well, he's fun to dance to.
We have a clip of the guy, the Birds Aren't Real guy, trolling live news.
Oh, wow.
I guess.
Gen Z is full of some amazing men, women, and children that are aiming for change. And I think that is, just what our movement's all about.
But it's more than just Gen Z's falling for conspiracy theories. Why?
Spit his drink.
I'm so nervous. I'm so sorry.
He just threw up all over.
I was wondering why
don't we give you some time to collect yourself? If you need help, let us know in the control room there, and we'll get back to you if we can.
So, that was great.
Yeah, that was good stuff. They also make a shirt with a bird with binoculars that says "Who's watching who." Yeah, he's one great. Yeah. So since Beyonce's editing lyrics now, because we had to take out words, and then Lizzo had to take out the same word, Monica Lewinsky has a request.
Oh boy.
Lewinsky, who is, we all know, the former White House intern who became embroiled in a scandal with President Bill Clinton at the time, tweeted the news of Beyonce's removing the word spaz from her new album, Renaissance, with her own request. She tweeted, while we're at it, #Partition, which is another song. Partition is a track from the singer's 2013 self-titled album, and she has the lyric, Monica Lewinsky, the man Monica Lewinsky'd all on my gown.
Oh, wow.
And she would very much like that retroactively.
It's a little more personal and directed, yeah.
So this week, Beyonce scrubbed the word spaz from her track because it's a reference, because we didn't really know who it was affecting, demeaning to people with spastic cerebral palsy.
Yeah, they used to call them spastics or spasmatic or something like that.
It's a good cover
then
band.
it got short. It got shortened down. It was basically, it's sort of like what happened to retard turned into tard, and then it got bad, and then they got rid of it.
Well, remember when we spent a good chunk of time talking about duh and doy and the hand motions?
Dur.
Yeah. Will you remind us of the hand motion and everything?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to do my right hand because I'm still recovering.
I understand. You don't want to hurt yourself.
Dur is
right, you hit your chest.
You have to pound your chest very hard.
Inexcusable these days. Not into it. Not going to see it on TV.
Unless Trump's, unless they're filming Trump.
However, I use the word again, unearthed scene from one of our classic favorites, Saved by the Bell.
No.
Check this out.
Somebody tweeted me this.
This is Mark Paul Gosselaar and Mario Lopez just doing a Saturday morning kids show because this was just not that bad then.
Or you can get the Go Anywhere pass for $5. Wow, I'll take that one. I know Thanks.
That's what we did.
With the hand motion and everything.
Yeah, it's interesting that we started with like, you can't say Negro anymore, like from, X amount of years ago, but we will just kind of keep going into things you did do, but you shouldn't do or you can't do anymore. And then we'll find stuff of people doing it when you could do it. And then we'll pretend like, oh, what was he thinking?
No,
That's
not right. I've said that.
Right?
No, of course. I mean, I'm agreeing with you.
It's like saying people rode on donkeys and then we rented a car and then we went ahead 50 years and found footage of a guy riding a donkey going, what's he doing? It's like, well, he's doing what everyone did before this.
And we have proof. Granted, I don't exactly think Saved by the Bell was in front of a live studio audience, the laugh track. But if there's a joke that's totally inappropriate and people are laughing at it, you have to move on because that is showing that was of that time.
Acceptable at the time.
Absolutely. Joke, you hear Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy. The whole stadium is roaring with laughter. That means it was acceptable at the time.
Oh, and in real time, Bill Maher, when we did it a few weeks ago, but he just did real time. Now, he did the joke that the guy from the New York Times retweeted or something about women being bi.
Yeah.
It's either
New Yorker?
Bipolar or bisexual.
something in New York, and the whole audience laughed, thus saying it was a funny,
Pretty good joke.
Mm-hmm.
As it pertains to Durr, I should point out that there is a very successful current professional poker player named Tom Dwan, and he started off playing online poker. He used the name Durr with a bunch of R's, like Dourr, because that he figured it was strategy to other poker players that want to play against him because he was a dummy. And he still goes, his nickname is Durr.
Sharking him.
I'll tell you who was way ahead of the curve on this. Der Wienerschnitzel. They're just
all the Germans.
They got rid of the Der.
They did.
Josh Wienerschnitzel.
As you know, I have one very close to my house.
Oh,
I'm
you
trying
do?
to think if it. I guess it doesn't say.
I think Der Wienerschnitzel got rid of the Der.
I'm going to have to take a picture on the way home.
Poor Laszlo Gorak.
Yeah.
Going to the Luckies, seeing that sign. Finally, some decent schnitzel in this town, he announced to the skies.
That down.
And we got a corn dog.
It doesn't make any
and curly
sense.
fries instead.
Well, yeah, like schnitzel is like basically like flat fried chicken. Like it has nothing to do with Wiener Schnitzel.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, they faked him out in a horrible way.
Yeah, it's from the Washington Post, and the joke is every girl is bi. You just have to figure out if it's bipolar or bisexual.
That's funny.
Yeah, audience laugh. Is Durr, they're still doing Durr?
So Der Wienerschnitzel is actually an example of incorrect use of German by native English speakers.
Yeah.
So they changed
Cultural appropriation.
Yeah, so they changed its name to just Wienerschnitzel in 1977, although some franchises still retain the older name. But officially, the Der has been gone since 77.
So grammatically, that's not...
Way the fuck ahead of the curve,
Wow.
just like I said. They knew this Durr thing there was going to be a Durr purge. Purging of the Durs?
Now look up Tom Dwan. No, don't do that.
Can we please talk about movies and how we should leave the good ones alone? Because there's a remake coming our way.
Ooh, Chris, if Kal Penn pops on, you'll
Okay,
you'll
well, I
tell
have
us.
to tell you this. Conor McGregor and Jake Gyllenhaal will be remaking Roadhouse.
You check your sources, because if you're fucking around right now,
I would never
woman,
play with your heart. This is on Deadline.
I'm okay with this.
I am too.
Yeah. Roadhouse is very fun, but it could stand to freshen up.
Okay, well, would you like to know what they're going to do with this one?
Yes.
Okay, so Gyllenhaal is a former UFC fighter, and he takes a job as a bouncer at a rough and tumble roadhouse in the Florida Keys.
Oh, I'm in.
But soon discovers that not everything is what it seems in this tropical paradise. This is going to be McGregor's first acting role. He's going to be playing a character, not playing himself, and this will be an Amazon original movie.
Is he? He must be another cooler, like one of the guys at the bar. Yeah.
Best in the business.
Polite.
Yeah.
So now you guys are happy that they're touching a classic.
Yes.
I got no problem with this.
I will watch the shit out of this.
You can make a silly movie.
I thought you said they're going to remake Durr and Durr. All right, let's bring it home, Gina Grad.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
F you.
Gina Grad. That was the news with Gina Grad.
Kal Penn is going to chime in, actor, author, former White House staff member. We'll get into all that is Kal Penn right after this.
Adam Carolla's 6th book and audiobook. Everything reminds me of something. Advice, answers, but no apologies.
I need to have a sit down with Siri. When you're using the talk to text feature, if you inhale, she decides you're done speaking and attempts to send the text. I'm sorry, I'm not as artificially intelligent as you, bitch, but I actually want to compose my thought. So you end up shotgunning out your text because you're sick of being cut off. Spelling and grammar be damned. You're going to spit out a run-on sentence and message your wife that you're stopping at the store for a gallon of MILF.
Everything reminds me of something. Available now, wherever finer books are sold.
Kal Penn is joining us via Zoom. I tried to send a text yesterday, and it was I'm sending a text to this person. I cannot make this event. And then I inhaled, and I want to go, I'm so sorry, and it's like, should I send? Yeah. And I'm like, no, yes,
relax,
you can, but I
come back for more.
I did want to, It was a breath. I don't know why they don't give you that. Kal, do you feel my pain?
I don't even do the voice to text because I'm terrified of what it's going to send.
You're right.
I just don't even do it at all. I don't even try.
The book, I should mention, not my book, but Cal's book, You Can't Be Serious. It's available now in paperback and tells stories, chronicles Kal working at the White House and working in Hollywood. And how did you get from Hollywood to the White House?
It's a very fair question. I was very happily working on the show House, playing the doctor. My first stable acting job, by the way. Like it was all, to be able to actually show up and go to the same job every day for more than 6 or 8 weeks was amazing. The writer's strike happened around that time, so this was 2007, the fall of 2007, and Olivia Wilde, wonderful coworker, fantastic director. She had a +1 to an Obama event, and she asked me if I wanted to go, and I said no. And at the time, I think Obama was 30 points down in the polls against Hillary Clinton and John Edwards. And she said, "I thought you read his book." And I said, "No, I of course I read his book. I also read a book about Dick Cheney. It doesn't mean I want to go to a Dick Cheney event." So she kept asking me, and finally she goes, "I mean, it's an open bar." I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm in. I'm there. I am with you. I am now your +1." And I kind of, I was excited by what I saw there, and there was an opportunity to volunteer, and that was back when. And this goes for any political campaign. If you start early enough, no matter what the office is, it's pretty much just a handful of people working for these folks. And so then as the president's campaign grew, I had the chance to work a little bit longer and then serve at the White House. And when that opportunity came about, I couldn't figure out what do I say? "Sorry, Mr. President, I have another stoner movie to make." It just seemed like you got to serve your country when you can.
Yeah. And it's so much luck of the draw. Not luck of the draw, but what I'm saying is when it comes time to, it's like being a guest on The Tonight Show. You can go, "I did The Tonight Show when Johnny Carson was hosting," and you go, "Oh, cool." And I go, "I did it with Seth Meyers." I go, "Oh," you know what I mean? But you got the coolest president in the last 50 years. I mean, you got to be in the cool administration.
It was a super interesting time for sure. I mean, I think about, I was a big fan of The West Wing, the TV show. And my favorite part of that was when I knew I was going to the White House. I was like, all right, sweet. So I can order food on my late nights. Can't do that. You can't do that in real life because the Secret Service is concerned that that somebody might try to poison your food when they see where it's going. But one of the most interesting parts about working there, the second week that I was there, this is in the book, but I love telling the story. I put it in the audiobook for a reason. So the second week that I was there, right, it's a very serious place. My background is in TV. It's not in politics. So I get looped into this email chain with like 100 people on it from the National Security Council. So very serious people. And they CC me on this email and it says, Cal, one of your jobs we know is about Asian American outreach. And so we want you to know about some talking points because the president's meeting with a delegation from the Philippines. You should know that one of the main terror group in the Philippines is the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. And then in parentheses, it just said MILF. Because in government, everything is acronyms. I shit you not. This email then said, MILF is considered highly dangerous. MILF recruits young men.
Indeed.
Many young men grow to regret their affiliation with MILF over time. Just on and on.
Tell me you texted John Cho immediately.
Worse than that, I hit reply all on this email without thinking, right? Because I'm laughing my ass off at my desk. I hit reply all and I just wrote, their main terror group are the MILFs? Amazing. And as soon as I hit send, I was like, no. Can you take this email back? So then in the hallway, all these serious people are like kind of winking and nodding at me like, yeah, this shit was funny, man. But when I asked them to have my back on email, all of them were like, absolutely not. It's a public record. It's a formal government document. So that was my big eye opener into like, okay, just watch yourself. You work in government now.
You're in New York right now, right? Yeah. Is it for you? Where does politics? Where does acting? Where does TV shows? Where to being an author? Like, what's the plan over the next decade?
So I love acting, especially comedy. First and foremost, it's what I started in. It's the thing that I still love the most. I feel really lucky that I've had the chance to live in these kind of two lives, right? Working in public service and then also just making some of the filthiest movies in the early 2000s. But I'd love to be able to continue to do both if I could. The one of the reasons I wrote the book was sort of for like the 25-year-old version of me, right? So I felt like when we were, I don't want to say kids, but like after college age, you were still sort of told in the 90s and 2000s, like you got to just pick one thing and stick to it. That's the only thing you're allowed to do. And nowadays, especially coming out of a pandemic, everyone's reanalyzed what they want to do. And it's like, it's considered a good thing to have multiple passions and multiple interests. So I wanted to share my story about just the crazy last 10 years, mostly because I want to keep being able to do this stuff. Like I'd love to write another book. I'd love to write another movie or TV show. And, I'm not the kind of guy who would want to run for office, but I'd certainly love to help people who are kind of doing something good for the country.
Why aren't you the kind of guy I'd like to run for office? And I guess here's a question. Would you have been the kind of guy who would have liked to run for office if the year was like 1955? Now,
I don't think they would.
We would have discriminated against you and your heritage, but let's put that aside. But I just mean, is it so insane now that you'd have to be insane to want to run because of how much prying into your public life? I've talked to many people that other people trying to convince them you should run for governor of California. It's like, I just don't want to tear my family apart. Like I don't want to do it.
Yeah, look, I think for sure, as an actor, you get a little taste of that, right? But there's always a reasonable expectation that you have some privacy. So like, my parents are notoriously just don't like taking pictures, don't like being the center of attention. So when we're out at dinner and somebody's very kind and saying hello, I'll say hi, but like at some point I got to be like, I'm with the parents. Could you give us some privacy? Most people are cool with that. But if you're an elected official, understandably, you don't have that, right? Like you signed up for a job that makes you accessible to people no matter where you are. I don't think that's unreasonable to expect of our politicians, but I certainly don't think it's for me.
Well, speaking of your mom, I think there's a story in the book where you were on Air Force One and you called your mom.
Yeah. One of the perks when you and I, to be clear, I was a mid-level staffer, so it's not like I was on Air Force One all the time. But you, one of the perks is you can make a phone call when you fly, and there's a phone at your seat. At each seat, you pick up the phone, you tell an operator the number you want to dial, and then the operator dials the number, and it's really badass. They call the person and they say, "Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, you have a call from Air Force One. Please hold," and then they connect you. And so I called my parents when I was on Air Force One. And I think the first thing they said was, "Seriously?" And I said, "Yeah." And then they just go, "How is it?" I was like, what do you mean? It's amazing. It's Air Force One. What do you, and it's to me, it was that understated, like, they're immigrants. They came here in the early 70s. My brother and I were born and raised in New Jersey. So it's always that like immigrant the first thing is always understated. The first thing's always like, "So what's it like?" And then later I called them when I got home. Of course, a million questions. Do you have any pictures? They were very proud. And it was so funny to me. That first little thing was always the most
can't give it
subtle.
to you.
Do they have when you're flying Air Force One?
Yeah.
Do they have any protocols like where they go like, look, if we have to make maneuvers to avoid X, Y, Z, like kind of keep your seatbelt on, or is there any? Would you know it's different from any commercial flight, let's say, in terms of the instructions?
That's such a good question. The instructions are, yeah. I mean, you would know because I saw people when it was taking off and landing, people just walking around, not sitting down.
So
really?
Our whole life has been a lie as civilians.
I know. I'm telling you. And I was watching this. I think it was like one of the economic advisors was walking down the aisle when it was landing. And I just remember thinking, he's totally fine. Like this whole time, I just assumed, even if you, God forbid, stand up too early when you're on the ground.
Yeah.
This is an active taxiway, sir. This is an active taxiway. Yeah, we're not moving. This thing gets dangerous for me to stand up when we're not. It's an active. I know everything at the airport's active, bitch. I get it. It's called an airport. Shit's going on. Understood. It's not my own private island. It's an active. Yes, they always go nuts with the active part. So it was really, to be honest, the only time I've experienced that kind of freedom in flight was flying to Mexico.
Oh,
You get on Aeromexico, they may be leaving LA, but they've imbibed the regulations of Mexico. It's a little freer society. When we climbed, I noticed the cockpit door swinging open and banging against the toilet door. And I was like, oh, I guess they're not as stringent.
Fast and loose.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of foreign airlines, it's merely a suggestion, perhaps, that you do certain things.
Yes, we have. I don't know. Well, this is a good question because you've been all around the world. We got a lot of rules here, like as it pertains to everything, but flying especially. Just like rules, and more rules. I mean, we don't. If you undo your safety belt before they hook the jetway up or whatever, you're going to get yelled at. But is Germany more stringent than us? Like, is there a society that has more rules?
Oh, what a good question.
Who has more rules? We got Mexico. That's less rules. And, maybe Air Jamaica or something, if it exists. I'm sure they're a little more laid back than we are.
You know what? If I can just buy Cal some time, in my flights internationally, same rules, much nicer about it. Like Air New Zealand or El Al, the same rules, but I mean, ma'am, and would you mind, and ever so gently.
Yeah. There was I had a small part in a film that was shooting throughout South Asia. This was maybe 8 or 9 years ago. And they flew us on British Airways. They paid for first class tickets. It was wonderful. Like, these people were so polite, to your point, right? Like, so polite that the seats turn into beds, and the flight attendants come over and apologize to you for not asking you if you want them to make your bed before they had actually asked you. It was like the weirdest thing. It was like, excuse me, sir, we're so sorry that we didn't ask you earlier. Would you like a rest?
Yeah,
shall we make your bed for you?
I dropped a grumpy, so you may want to get over here.
Just what? So you're right. It's there's a whole like nicer about it, and I also remember landing in Mumbai, and getting off this like polite airline, and I was in the immigration line. This woman, the immigration woman there, recognized me, and she goes, "Oh, you're Mr. Kal Penn, the actor." I was like, "I am. Thank you so much." And instead of saying "Welcome to Mumbai," she goes, "You've put on weight."
Wow.
It's like, what?
Wow. Keeping it real.
What is this? What is this shit? Send me back to British Airways. I want people to apologize to me for no reason.
That's a good example of out of the hot tub and into the snowbank.
Well, let's do a little audience survey says here. I have gotten you've lost weight. And then I go, no, I haven't lost weight. And they go, oh, on TV you look, and I'm like, oh, great, I look fat when I'm on TV. Then, so as tough as it is to hear it personally, it's still better, I think, to not have tens of thousands of people see you as a fat ass.
Which instills more paranoia, I think, is the question.
Yes.
Like, oh, you really have lost some weight since the movie, huh?
Right.
Or,
no, I haven't.
You put on a few pounds
since that
movie.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I'll take the in person you put on some weight.
Same.
And I admire their moxie. Reminds me of a young me.
I agree.
Kid's got it.
Or look, I'm from New Jersey. People are very direct. All my friends, Italian or Jewish parents, same thing. What's wrong with you? Either how come you're not eating or why'd you eat so much?
Well, the Jews, how come you're not eating?
Yeah, there's a weird balance. No one ever says you're eating just the right amount.
No.
Right?
Keep that shit up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like a scene from Goodfellas.
It really is.
Can you borrow a knife? His foot, his hoof, his paw. Yeah. Sorry, do you have a question, Gina?
I did. I was so into House. I've seen every episode multiple times. I absolutely adored you on it. It was my perfect show. It was like a medical mystery, but so fun. It was a perfect cast. Everything was great. Even if you're lying, please tell me that at the time, anyway, I'm married now, but my absolute dream crush of a man, Hugh Laurie, is the nicest, most wonderful dreamboat ever.
100% true.
Thank God.
He's got his background is comedy.
Yeah,
so
a bit of Brian
British
Laurie.
comedy.
Yeah.
He's done a bunch of sketches. Yeah. So like he would roll up. He'd roll up in the morning. His rule was always. I never explicitly asked him about this, but it became obvious after the first couple of days. He rolls up to work in the morning, and very laid back, has his British accent. The second he steps into the makeup trailer, he would have the American Dr. House accent. And that would carry through. If you were talking to him between scenes, he would have an American accent. You're eating lunch with him, he had an American accent. At the end of the day, after he took his makeup off and was walking back to the car, he would revert back to his British accent. I just thought that was such an interesting thing. Sweetest guy ever.
That's fascinating, and I'm not surprised. And what about the walk? Would he also stay in character throughout the day? Because he had a limp on the show.
I remember that.
No, I never noticed him. I didn't notice him with the cane outside.
How method is he? I saw him one time. I saw him play piano at like a blues club, and I was blown away. So I just want to make sure that he's as wonderful as he seems.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's a good dude.
Can we agree on this? Either actors are super multi-dimensional, classically trained, and speak 5 languages, and are artists and sculptors, are like far more interesting, or flat-out doofuses who just look interesting on screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's rarely a middle.
Yes. There's rarely a middle. And he would be the super interesting, multi-dimensional.
The Kal Penn of the group.
Yeah.
Yes, the Kal Penn of the group.
Thank you.
What is Hugh up to?
I am a doofus. So,
that's a great question. I mean, I had it bad for that man, and that show was just so perfect. It was a great show, and I don't know, is he doing stuff in Britain now? I don't know.
He's gonna be very wealthy.
He was.
I don't know.
He was doing his music for a while, and then also did a few. I think he had a few shows after House.
I don't acknowledge those.
That's fair if that's your yeah.
How did Harold and Kumar come about? Because it just seems like such a crazy concept and also just such a tough putt.
And a long shot, like you say, a long shot to become a hit.
Total long shot.
Right, like
total long shot.
Yeah, you could pitch it to somebody and they could go, "Who's in it? And what is this? And how did that even come about?"
Yeah.
That movie, in fact, the first time I met John Hurwitz and Hayden Schlossberg, the two hilarious guys who created the franchise, they wrote all three movies. They also created Cobra Kai recently for Netflix.
Nice.
I remember meeting them at a party in probably like 2003. It was a coworker's birthday party, and I had just finished Van Wilder with Ryan Reynolds and Tara Reid, and I play this Indian exchange student named Taj Mahal, and I remember John Hurwitz comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" A friend introduced us, and I go, "Good, man. How are you?" And the first thing he says is, "Whoa, you don't have an accent," and I was like, "Well, you're an asshole," something like that. There was some like, "Why would you think that I?" And he goes, "No, because of Van Wilder, you're so funny in it." I'm like, "Oh yeah, right. No, okay, yeah, all right. I have a chip on my shoulder about this. Go on." And it turned out we were both from neighboring towns in New Jersey, and he's like, "I'm an aspiring screenwriter. I wrote this project called Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. When I saw you in Van Wilder, I thought I'd love for this guy to read it." So he tells me about the idea. He sends me the script. And I called him and I was like, "Dude, this is the funniest thing I've ever read. I need to play this part. You're never going to sell it. And so let's like find a bunch of people who have a little bit of money and, raise $200,000 and shoot the thing." And he was so taken aback. He basically was like, No. I'm just letting you know, this is going out onto the market next week and we're going to sell it. We're selling this to a studio. And I said, "Trust me, I've been doing this for a while. No studio is going to buy a movie with two Asian American men as the leads, no matter how funny it is. That's just been my experience. You'll probably sell it, but they'll ask you to make it like a white guy and a black guy or something like that." And he goes, "Well, I got to tell you, we're making Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. I'm not trying to make David and Jason go to McDonald's." And he was very confident. And sure enough, a week later, he and Hurwitz and Schlossberg sold the script, and then there was this really long audition process that John Cho and I ultimately ended up getting cast in. And then the movie came out. Everybody forgets this. The movie came out and it tanked at the box office. Nobody saw it, and the word around town in Hollywood at the time was, "See, we told you, a movie like this could never make money. Nobody wants to see it." And I was just like, I just don't believe that. I feel like people love to laugh no matter what. I don't buy that it's because of the way the characters look, but I was proven wrong. And then sure enough, 3 months later, it comes out on HBO and on DVD, and fans all over the country just found it, had watch parties, they bought it, and we got a second and third movie. So today, to this day, we have such gratitude towards all fans who went out and supported that thing. It's one of my favorite characters I've ever played.
I gotta know. You read the original screenplay. Was it Neil Patrick Harris the whole time, or was it James Van Der Beek or someone like that?
No, it was Neil Patrick Harris the whole time. And in fact, I think, if I remember correctly, they sent his agent the script, and his agent was like, "Absolutely not." Like this. He was on Broadway at the time. He was doing like serious, really good work. And I think John Hurwitz and the director, Danny Liner, who recently passed away, he also did Dude, Where's My Car, which I loved him for. I think he and Hurwitz went to the play that Neil was doing and got him the script somehow, and he read it and thought it was hilarious. He was like, "Absolutely, I'm doing this."
I was thinking about Van Wilder and Ryan Reynolds, and I did Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place with Ryan Reynolds a million years ago. But people forget he just kind of hung around for a while. He wasn't Ryan Reynolds, the Ryan Reynolds we know. He got out of the gate. Yeah. He didn't have a ton of success. There was a kind of, they're going to let him do this. Like I mean, literally, he may not had a big thing until he was 40 or something.
We've talked about this on the show in the past. Certain actors get a bite at the apple, and you get one bite. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be a thing. You had a chance. If it doesn't work, it's over. Ryan Reynolds got several bites at the apple, so to speak. Deservedly so. He's a charismatic, fun, on-screen personality, and it finally hit, to being what it hit.
Yeah, most people don't get that.
Didn't he also put himself in a Deadpool trailer that he bankrolled?
Yes.
Like he paid
Yes.
for the whole thing?
Yeah, and
just
it
to
was-
show everyone that he could play the part?
That got the movie made. The movie was just dead in the water, not going to get made. And then he rode one off with, I think, Tim Miller, the director, and made a proof of concept. We could watch it. It's 2 minutes long, which is essentially the highway scene in the movie. And it became such an online phenomenon that the movie got made.
Oh, well, Chris maybe can find that. I remember being on the set of Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, saying, you know what, kid?
You're going
you
places.
got it. You remind me of a young me. You got moxie.
Well, he was in that that Canadian teen soap opera
he was
that
sort of a teenish
I
star.
liked. Yeah, it was, when like you can't do that on television. All these shows were coming out of Canada on Nickelodeon. He was on a Canadian teen soap opera. He was a kid.
He did a lot before he popped into what we know him as today, and he banged around for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and that's why it's kind of hard to tell people, like, hey, give it up.
Right.
You know, I mean, I was talking to Michael Mann, the director, on this show recently. Have we aired that one yet? I can't remember.
No, it's going to air this Friday.
It's coming Friday. And he's in Italy. Next Friday. He's in Italy shooting the Ferrari movie. I was in his office talking about the Ferrari movie like 5 years ago. Robert De Niro was going to play Ferrari. Then, he's been working on Ferrari the movie for 30 goddamn years, and he's finally in Maranello shooting it with I'll think of it. So he goes. So it starts off with De Niro, because De Niro was 47 when they started, and then they go into Hugh Jackman. And now they're with Adam Driver.
Boy.
From
Right
De
from
Niro.
House of Gucci.
From De Niro to Adam Driver, that's how long. But Adam Driver was in the military. Was maybe I'd have been born when he was trying to get this stuff put together.
Same with Gangs of New York. That was the De Niro Scorsese vehicle back in the 70s, and we know what it is now.
I love these stories. It's like the stories of perseverance.
Yep.
Yeah, but let's also realize that when you have one of your jack-off buddies who's talking about dropping a country album for the last 17 years and he never played a note, that guy needs to be dissuaded and discouraged quickly.
Yes. Right.
Cal,
yes.
I know
that's just an idea.
I know you have a hard out, so we'll give you a plug here. You Can't Be Serious is the name of the book. It is out in paperback. You can shoot him a tweet at Kal Penn as well. Always great getting caught up with you, my friend.
Yeah, likewise. Nice to see you, and congrats on everything, and thanks for the book and the audiobook, love. I appreciate it.
Right back at you. All right. Speaking of audiobooks, Dawson, I'm looking at you. I've got a couple of tweets that said I can't find your audiobook, or it's not shipping, or something like that. Is that true?
I will look now, but according to recordedbooks.com, it was to be available on August 2nd.
All right. Well, we'll just make sure that it's there. Let me hit a spot here for blindsgalore.com, family owned and run, over 20 years, over 2 million windows covered. First place to buy custom window treatments online, blinds, shades, shutters, drapes, and more, even motorized coverings to connect to your smartphone. You don't have to hardwire them. You just charge them up like you're charging your phone, and you don't have to do it that often either. They got it all. Just take measurements, and they'll help you design it. Their online visualizer lets you see exactly what they'll look like right on screen before you buy. Their expert customer care team will help every step of the way, either online or over the phone. Free samples, free shipping, free expertise. Doesn't get any better than that. We use them here. They're in all my offices and my home. They are blindsgalore.com, right, Dawson?
Blindsgalore.com. Blindsgalore.com makes it easy to get the high-quality designer blinds and shades you've always wanted in your home, all at a great price. Order your free samples today. To get started at blindsgalore.com and let them know that Adam sent you. That's blindsgalore.com.
All right, we'll wrap the show a little bit earlier than we normally do because I have 200,000 things to do yet this week. You can go to adamcarolla.com for all the live shows and for the book. Thank you for enjoying that. Dan Abrams on Patrol Live Friday, Saturday on Reels, and of course Kal Penn. You can't be serious, and it is available, my audiobook, on Audible. So until next time, I'm Carolla for Dan Abrams, Kal Penn, Gina Grad, and Ball Bryan. Say it. Mahalo. For shipping and handling.
Yes,
handling.
Right.
I don't know what happened to handling. Did it get folded into shipping? Did we just decide we're done saying handling? It was shipping and handling. Shipping and handling. My entire youth was spent hearing about shipping and handling, and evidently the handlers need a better union or a publicist or something. Like there must be